And it looks like the arch, and that's intentional.
Judith Shaw is one of the St. Louis artists who's finally getting recognized for her work.
It's called self-denial.
But more on that in a minute. Judith began her life on a path that would lead her to a husband, 2 sons, and a life she thought she was in full control of, which is where this story begins.
I actively engaged in eating disorder behavior for about 15 years. I can't think of the words, I can't come up with the words to really communicate the grasp, the grip that anorexia had on me.
Judith needed help and decided to come to St. Louis to seek treatment 5 years ago.
And my first piece, when I arrived in treatment, I was given the assignment to do a written timeline of dates and events that would have predisposed me to an eating disorder. And I just thought, oh, they don't get me. I was just really resistant to this assignment, and I didn't do it. And so I had this idea of how to represent my eating disorder, and I did a life-size paper tracing. I laid down on a piece of paper and someone traced my body, and I cut it out, and I wanted it to stand. And it was kind of became a metaphor because I could barely stand at that time. These are just other things that kind of interest me.
And so Judith found a new calling and a way to express herself and her disorder through her beautiful artwork.
I've uncovered that I'm an artist at heart. I work with a lot of found objects and so whenever I see anything, I could be at the supermarket, or I could be driving, or I could be passing something along the highway, and I just see something that like grabs me. It's like a material that looks like something that describes how I feel. Observation of something that I was experiencing inside, and then I had the place to put it. Each one has a backstory that isn't evident to the viewer. So the one that's on the cover of my book, which is called Somebody, that was done after a meal, and I put plaster on my torso, and I, intentionally, so just the whole process of making that, where I had to put Vaseline on my body, so kind of getting to befriend myself and allowing the belly to be full. Next to it, I show just a very straight and narrow cardboard box, and that piece is called Nobody. I mean, at one point in my life, I really wanted to be as thin as that box. I thought I would really be happy if I could be as thin as that, straight and narrow box. But then to see, with this full body, I feel so much more of a somebody. You can't be somebody with no body.
Judith is somebody now whose work is being used at medical schools across the country.
I don't think that many physicians, except for those who are trained in the field of eating disorders, really understand what goes on in the minds of anyone with an eating disorder. So I was just thrilled that it was being used in this way. Yeah, I really missed out on a lot of the richness that comes with being a full-fledged woman. I feel like in many ways I'm discovering who I am for the first time in my life, and I'm 58 years old. While the work tells the story of an eating disorder and my recovery, that there's a raw universality to the work, that a lot of us have some kind of hole, something that we're trying to fill, something that we don't feel quite complete about in our lives. And so I think the artwork speaks to so many people on that level.
For photographers Nina Bocchini and Tamara Patterson, reporting for Ladue View, I'm Don Goble.